Afternoon. Welcome. Oh, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to the shop. I down here working on the Chevy and the Chevy pickup. I think you guys have seen this thing before, but basically it's a twin turbo 65 Chevy truck. And the last time I was live, I showed you guys that the power steering pump was bad, and I was changing it. And after changing, I started thinking it is unusual for a power steering pump to blow out like that one did. And I thought, it's probably worth investigating and checking the pump pressure to see if maybe something is wrong with the pump pressure. And so that's what I'm going to show you guys today and talk about. So we'll wait a little while for people to join, and then we'll get started. But it is Sunday. It is football time, so we may not get a lot of people, but we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Hey guys, welcome to the shop. I just did an intro a few minutes ago, but basically, I'm working on the Chevy, the LS twin turbo 65 Chevy truck. And last time I went live, I talked about the power steering pump blowing out, and I was in the process of swapping the power steering pump. And I got to thinking about why that power steering pump would have gone bad, and I wanted to share with you guys what I learned so that if you ever have a GM power steering pump to a Ford rack and pinion, you'll know what's going on with it. So good to see you guys, and Chris, thanks for joining, and everybody that's joining, appreciate it, guys. So essentially, I'm going to turn the camera around here. I'll show you guys what I did last time, and then I'll explain to you what I found. So the power steering rack is right there on this car, and as I was working on it, I started thinking, why did this thing go bad? Because it should not have. And so I figured I better check the pump pressure and see what the pump pressure is at. And right on the side of the power steering pump, if you run a GM power steering pump, on the high pressure line side is a valve that looks like this. And this valve underneath it is a valve control system. And basically, as the pressure comes in, there's a little ball bearing and a spring inside of here that controls the pressure. And if there are no shims on this, I think it's somewhere around 2,000 pounds of pressure, and a Ford rack only needs 1,000. So Borgeson sells this kit that you can buy, and you can swap out or put in shims. I have never seen one with no shims. If you look at this, there is no shim on there, and that, of course, is probably what blew our power steering rack out. And I'll show you what the inside, I think they have a drawing in here. Yeah, they have a drawing. So this is the pump. This is that assembly that I pulled out of there, and then this is the actual flow valve. And this sucker, so it's running at 1350 because there's no shim in there, and that is what blew out our power steering rack and pinion. So if you guys ever, are working on these, know that if you're using GM power steering pump and a Ford rack and pinion, you got to make sure these pressures are right. Otherwise, it'll blow your power steering rack out, and that's what we had happen. So I'm actually going to change this and show you guys. I'm going to open up the power steering flow valve and show you what's in there, and then we're going to put some washers on it and then put it back together. I probably won't do it all in the live. Mostly I wanted to alert you guys. I mean, I don't know how many people are doing builds, but this kit really makes it good so you can fix these problems. But I figured something wasn't right, and I couldn't, yeah, the valve makes white smoke when failure, yeah. I knew something was wrong, and I wanted to investigate more because I did not like that had done that. So anyway, oh wow, you're from Ireland. Good to have you on with us, man. Great, I appreciate it. We're going to go over to the workbench, and I'm going to show you guys how this comes apart, and then we'll check it and put some shims in it. So I'm going to take you guys off of the camera here, and you can see the shop. We got the 65 Chevy LS motor on the rack, and it has a brand new rack and pinion, and then of course the 56. I've been doing additional work on it, it's coming out really, really nice. And I'm going to have a lot of videos on that car once I get it up in the air. And then, of course, the 37 Ford is done. So let me go over here and I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. But put you on this little unit here. Sorry for the jitteriness as I get you guys set up. So we're basically just going to take this thing apart and see what's going on inside of it. So when you do this, they give you this little sleeve. It's to hold the body in place because it'll want to rotate on you. And we're going to put this in here. And I think some of you were on our live when we were at SEMA last week. Or week before last. Appreciate everybody joining. So we're just trying to figure out why our power steering failed on the twin turbo 65 Chevy truck. And what we've identified is there's no shims in the power flow valve, and so it's running at full pressure, which will absolutely destroy your power steering rack, especially if you're using a GM and you switch to and you're running a Ford power rack and pinion with a GM pump, which a lot of us do. So yeah, there's no shims in here. I'm seeing some little shards of metal. Let me go get a flashlight real quick. Hang on. I don't like this. All right. So I think somebody might have cross-threaded this thing. So let me look in here. So I'm seeing right here. See that little shard of metal right there? And I'm seeing more of it down inside this power valve. Let me take this out and show it to you guys. I'm going to have to order a power valve. I'm not going to use this one because there's definitely something wrong with it. So let me put the camera on here for you. So if I'm looking down inside that, if you guys can see, there are pieces of, it looks like material right here that is metal, little pieces of metal. And it looks like somebody cross-threaded this little tip at some point, and this is harder than the base of this. So I was going to show you guys, I'll show you how to put it back together, but I'm going to order a new power valve because this is a problem. All that garbage that's in there, I'm going to try and clean it out, but those threads are mangled inside there. So that explains why our rack and pinion started leaking, and this makes total sense now. So but from an education perspective, guys, so there's the pressure on this thing. If you use 3 washers, it should put you right at like 1,000 pounds of pressure. So this should have had 3 washers on it like that, which would put a little bit less tension on that spring and would then in turn give less pressure on the power rack and pinion, and it would keep you from blowing out the seals, which is what we had as a problem. Unfortunately, somebody put this together, chewed up the threads inside of here, and I'm going to order a new power valve because there's no way in the world I'm going to put this back in with that. That'll ruin our brand new rack and pinion. So, but that's just so you guys can see, those are the washers. And then that other part of the body that I had, oh yeah, I can totally feel it when I'm trying to thread this back in here. They thrashed these threads. So I'm going to order another one of those tonight. There is a giant rubber O-ring that goes on the assembly before this, and even if your O-ring looks good, swap it out. These things are notorious for being a problem. So, well, my intention of putting all this together for you guys, Big Juicy Burger, I would have liked to put this all back together and show you guys the truck running, but I am not going to put that valve back in because if I do, there's a screen on the end of this right here. I'll show you. There's a screen right here, but if I put this back in, all that material is still floating around inside there and can cause problems. So I'm not going to take a chance. I will just order a new flow valve and put this all back together. But I'll show you guys around the shop in the meantime because obviously we're not going to do that. I'm going to put this back on here just so I don't lose the spring and the ball bearing that's in there. and then we'll turn this off and I'll just show you guys around the shop. So welcome anybody that joined. We were working last time on the 65 Chevy truck. This thing is a beast. I'll show you guys what's underneath it, so at least you can get a feel for that. It is a twin turbo LS. It's an iron block LS motor that has been completely built up to support the horsepower from this turbochargers, the twin turbos. But we were changing this rack and pinion last time, and because it was leaking really bad, and I realized there was something else going on. So let me grab my creeper and we'll just go under here and look around. You guys can check this thing out. So it's a Porter-built chassis on this thing. Essentially, it's partially original chassis, and then in the back it's been all notched, step notched to allow the rear end to travel all the way down. And then it has these huge trailing arms to the rear end assembly, and then a panhard bar across the back. So it works really good with the way the suspension's set up. You can go all the way to the ground with the ride height, and then of course it handles the power and everything really well. And then there's a mid-carrier bearing here for the drive shaft, and then these are two intercoolers, or water to air coolers for the turbochargers that actually cool the intercooler. And then this is a pump that pumps the water through those two coolers and keeps the air charge even cooler. So it's kind of a neat setup. And then in the back here is a tank. It's right there that stores the coolant, and so it has its own coolant system. So separate from the truck, the turbocharger intercoolers have their own cooling. That's very similar to the way that the Mercedes-Benz hot V motor works. So it's pretty cool. And then we got our air ride system back here. So we've got our control valve there, and then all the electronics, and everything, of course, is hidden away and cleaned up. And then these are the height sensors. So there's 4 of them on the car, and as the trailing arm moves up and down, that little potentiometer changes, and it tells the computer what the ride height of the car is. So you can drive it almost all the way down, or you can lift it up. It's a pretty cool setup. We have the same thing on the Cadillac. So the Caddy is kind of sitting high right now, but the Caddy can run at several different heights, and of course all the way to the ground is my favorite. But same kind of system here, and then this big giant nodular rear end, and then the gas tanks in the very back, and then these giant heim joints on all of the suspension components all have Zerk fittings, so you can grease everything. So it's a very cool setup. You can see where the frame goes from the factory C frame to the boxed frame all the way back, and then goes to the notch in the rear, and that's how you can get the suspension all the way down, and then the tires just travel all the way up inside the fender wells. So very cool build. But hey, thanks for the subscribe, man. I appreciate it. We've been trying to do more and more content and share with you some of the stuff we do, and so I really appreciate the subscribe. On the front end, here's the shock here. These lower A-arms are custom, and then the airbags there in the front for the suspension. And in this case, the front tire travels all the way up through the front fender and into the engine compartment just below the hood. It's pretty cool. And the potentiometers are mounted a little farther up here, so the front and rear all have those potentiometers that allow you to control the height of the vehicle, which is very cool. So this is the underside of the really cool 65 Chevy truck, and I had hoped to fire it off today for you guys and have you listen to the engine, but I got to order that flow valve for the power steering because I am not running that thing. But you'll notice here on the ground I got some oil. The 65 Chevy was parked here until this morning when I moved it out, and it has a Muncie 4-speed in it, and the Muncie 4-speeds are notorious for leaking out of the front and rear seals, and this one's got that problem. So I'm gonna have to drop the transmission and get it out of there and change the front and rear seals because I don't know any transmission shops that do it anymore, so I just do it. This little 383 stroker motor, this thing is a riot to drive. These 56 Chevys are a blast, and this one's really nice. We just finished going through and touching up anything on the paint and body that needed to be squared away, and really dialing this thing in. But it is a really nice build. It's kind of an old school style hot rod. So if we look at the back of it, it actually has a mini tub in the rear. So these rear tires are pretty wide for a Chevy like this, and it's because the inside fender wells have actually been brought in about 3 inches. So they're cut and then sectioned and then welded, so that gives you additional width in the rear, and that way you can keep your tire inside real far, have a nice wide tire, and still give it a clean profile patch. The guy that owns this car wanted it to be a sleeper, so when he pulls up to the street, no one knows that he's got this little stroker motor in it and the contact patch to make it happen. And then there's a trap door here for the stereo system, so when this is up, it looks really clean. It's very simple, but nice build. And of course, for you 56 lovers, it still retains its factory gas cap right inside the taillight, which is always cool. This is, you know, Cadillac kind of started this with hiding things in body components like that, and 56 Chevys, they continued that on, which is really cool. So, but it's a nice clean build. All the glass, all the chrome, everything's really nice, very sanitary. And then the interior is really simple. It's a nice clean interior, a little bit of a tuck and roll feel to it. The owner is a little bit old school hot rodder and wanted to do that. And then of course that 4-speed, the third pedal down there on the floor, and that 4-speed makes this thing a lot of fun to drive. So that is the 56 Chevy, and we've done a bunch of work body-wise. So there were just little nicks and chips and things, touched all that up, color sanded, buffed the whole car, cleaned up some of the stainless trim, and mechanically got it running good. Did some carburetor work on it, changed the spark plugs, but it needs 3 things. It needs the transmission resealed, and then these headers, the flanges are all bent. They're warped. So we're going to swap the headers out with new headers, and then a full new exhaust going back with new hangers, dial everything in. So third pedal is anti-theft system nowadays. Yes, it is, Dave. You are absolutely right, man. There are so many people that don't know how to drive a clutch. And it's funny, I just sold a 67 Mustang manual, and I had 2 different families come and look at the car and did not know how to drive a manual, and I kind of thought they were joking when they showed up, but they wanted to see, you know, how the car felt and see the car and then try and drive it. And the good news about a Mustang is they're a high torque motor, so when you do learn to drive them as a stick, they're pretty forgiving. But both families decided that they were going to get an automatic, and they walked away, which is fine, because the gentleman that ended up buying it loves manuals and was looking for that exact kind of a car, and so it went away. But it was, you're right, anti-theft nowadays. You know, people are not as familiar with the third pedal. But anyway, so our original work today was going to be on the Chevy. I'll do another live this week once I get the power valve in and the flow valve, and put it in for you guys so you can see how that works, and then fill up the power steering. We'll fire the motor off. But the 37 Ford is done. I think last time I talked to you guys, I was still doing some adjusting on the motor, and it is finished. And this is a little different of a build, where it's a Ford body. It's actually a Chevy running gear, so it has the motor and transmission out of a late 80s IROC Camaro, and so you can see here, yeah, go to the movies. So you can see here that it's a TPI motor, very reliable, super simple to work on, custom headers. All the wiring is very neat. The only place that you see wiring is along the frame there, where it comes into the engine harness, and it's impossible to hide that on this frame, so it had to go on top. But firewall's all smoothed out, very flat, very nice. Hey Claude, nice to see you. Yeah, Dave, it's a really clean build, and it is suicide doors, so it's kind of cool, you know, driving it because it's got a neat feel to it. It's almost like an old school bobber style hot rod, tuck and roll interior, all new analog gauges, the Moon Eyes gauges, and then just a really neat build. But we were finishing it up last time you guys saw us on the live, and it is done and ready to go. So very cool. But we did go to SEMA. I've got tons of videos to share with you guys. So if you're not subscribed to our channel, subscribe. I try to put out some cool videos on the cars. There was a Fox Body Mustang that I did some video of that you'll really enjoy. A couple 67 fastbacks, just some really nice cars. And then overall, I'm trying to bring you in shorts, you know, highlights of cars that I really like that I think you guys would enjoy. So if you have not subscribed, check it out. You know, subscribe, and I'll keep loading videos. I've got a ton of material, guys. I've got so much to share with you. But anyway, any questions on anything? There's the boat in the background. We did a ton of videos on that thing. It was a lot of fun. And then my Triumph is parked for a while. I'm redoing all the fuel system on it. And then the old Willys is very cool. So that's the Willys Jeep that I've shown you guys before, but it's a old military Jeep with all the original military accoutrements. I think this side's uncovered over here. Yeah, it's cool. So that was if you ever have anyone that wants to learn mechanical, these Jeep Willys are the easiest thing to work on, and they are so forgiving. If you screw something up, you generally won't destroy it. So it is a good vehicle to learn on. My nephew and a lot of their friends, you know, young guys that worked in the shop, I bring them in and I put them on the Willys to work because they can mess it up and it doesn't destroy it, and it's usually very recoverable. So this thing was originally part of a armored division in Florida. Never saw action, but it was a reconnaissance Willys, so it has this giant antenna for the shortwave antenna, and then a 24-volt electrical system, and the radio is still, it's right there, the radio is still in it. But we're driving it in a parade this week for the holidays, so Santa, and we've got a trailer with a bunch of inflatables and stuff that'll be behind that. So it's going to get dressed out with Christmas lights and be a lot of fun. But so that's it. So we unfortunately didn't get a chance to do the startup of the Chevy, but I am not putting that valve back in with all that metal in it. That's very problematic. And I'll show you guys, for anybody joining afterwards. Basically what we did is I bought a kit that allows you to put shims on the flow valve in the power steering, because on a GM power steering pump, the pressures are much higher than the Ford. And so we all kind of identified through looking at the one that's on there, it was at 1350 PSI, which is what blew out our power steering unit. And we're going to put 4 shims in it. I'll probably do 3 to get us right at 1,000, but I might do 4. 850 should be fine on that Ford power steering unit. But this is the visual of what we were just playing with. And then, of course, this is the pump and the housing. And this is that assembly right there. And there's an adapter for a high pressure line. So, but we are at 25 minutes. I had originally planned for 25. If you guys want to join next time, we'll fire this thing off. I might put part of it together and then just show you what I did, just to save some time. But this thing's pretty badass. I can't wait to do some driving videos for you guys. But it's a really cool, it's a riot to drive. Just a ton of power in a really cool old truck. It gets looks, and it is fun. Actually, let me put it down and I'll show you guys the motor. Hang on a second here. So luckily, going down is a lot easier than putting it up. So let me put the camera on the tripod for you. There we go. Hang on one second there, folks. I gotta get better at my technology for you. There we go. We'll put the truck down so you guys can see the motor. Hopefully this is not a spectacular fail. Make sure everything's out of the way. Last thing we want to do is put a vehicle down with anything underneath it. There we go. So this is the twin turbo LS motor. Thing is a beast, and it does have nitrous on it. So I have not hit the nitrous yet. I had someone ask that last time. No, it is fast just the way it is, and when these turbos kick in, it is just insane. Very cool. You can see my rags down here. That's where the valve comes out of the power steering unit, and there's the power steering reservoir there. So that high pressure line is my output high pressure line, and I pulled that entire valve assembly out of right there. So, all right. Well, you know, thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate it. And I will bring you more. I just felt like that was a good one to share about being careful with these GM power steering units and then the Ford rack and pinion. And the majority of the rack and pinions you're going to buy for hot rods are going to be the Ford assembly. So if you use the GM power steering pump, which is very common, comes with a lot of these serpentine kits, you've got to adjust the pressure, otherwise you will blow that power steering pump apart. So I'll show you guys the truck real quick. So you remember we were underneath it earlier. Let's walk around this side over here. Here's the interior of it. Black leather. Everything's real clean on the dashboard, all electronic gauges. It's got that great ratcheting shifter down there on the floor. And then everything you saw in the bed, here it is from the top. So you got your nitrous tank. Here's the air tank system that we saw from underneath. The batteries are up inside this section here. And then there's the notch and the airbag and everything from the top. So it's pretty cool. All right. Well, thanks again for joining, everybody. And I will make sure to bring you guys more. And you know, like I said, if you haven't subscribed, we have a ton of great videos from SEMA. And there is a very not well-known car show that occurs after SEMA. It's the Saturday. So SEMA ends, it goes Tuesday through Friday, and then the Saturday comes around, and there's a car show at a shop that builds hot rods there in Las Vegas. And so we have a video on that I'll share with you guys, because if you're ever in Vegas, it is definitely a car show to go see. A lot of the cars that are from the SEMA event will actually go to that car show, and you can go see some of the cars that were at the event live and talk to the builders and talk to the owners. It's a lot of fun. So I've got some videos on that. So if you guys subscribe, you'll see that video coming up pretty quickly, and we'll kind of share a lot of that material with you. But let's see here. Let me put this way a little tiny bit. But appreciate you guys. Thank you. 65. We have an absolutely just phenomenal car coming. So December 11th, I'm driving to Arizona. I'm meeting the transporter, because my trailer is an open trailer. I'm not bringing this car back on an open trailer. It's got to come back on an enclosed trailer. So the car that's coming back, you will not want to miss. It is absolutely amazing, fantastic car. I don't want to blow it, but let's just say we'll go underneath it. We're going to look at the suspension. We're going to go through the car. It is a supercharged V8 mid-engine car, so a couple of hints there. Anybody who wants to drop a thought about what it might be, please do. But mid-engine, supercharged, later model car that is just breathtaking. So that'll be here shortly. So please subscribe. You guys will get to check that thing out. And thanks for joining. I try to make it fun and educational at the same time. This was something I've seen many, many times. And when that power steering blew out the other day and we were going through it, I felt like there was something else going on. And sure enough, there was. So I wanted to share that with you guys. But please, tune in, check it out. And then if there's anything you guys want to see from me, let me know. I'm just trying to share my love of cars, and I can tell you guys have the same passion. So we'll get to share stories. I'm going to check the comments real quick, see if anybody has anything they're sharing. It doesn't look like it. So hi everybody, and thanks. Appreciate it, guys, and love the comment about the anti-theft system nowadays. That was awesome. But all right, I'll see you guys next time. I'll definitely show you guys this thing when it's all put back together and everything is done, and we'll fire it off, and then we'll have some great driving videos for you on it. So, all right, have a great Sunday, guys. Thanks for joining.